Alright, I somehow managed to kill my mic again. Hi guys, it's Ben here from Second Dynasty, coming at you live through the interwebs. Very much a solo mission today. I wasn't able to grab Zorima in time for me to put the countdown on, and my system isn't really the best when it comes to switching sources. It's a Discord thing, I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But in any case, it's nice to be back again on Friday. You'll note there's an absence behind me, and no, it's not really because I managed to finally bully Albin out of the office. He had a bit of a sniffle case on Monday when he came in, and I kind of looked at him and I said, have you got a cold? And he's like, maybe. And I said, then he said, maybe I should go home. And I said, maybe you should. Anyway, he claims to have recovered, and it seems to have just been a minor bug. He doesn't seem to have any other symptoms, but I would not allow him back into the office this week. So he should hopefully be back by Monday, provided that no other symptoms evolve. Can't be too careful in these times. Anyway, so there has not been a ton of progress on the Beowulf this week, or none really, because of Albin's absence. But we have to take these precautions during these times. I see you on the chat, Zorima. Thanks for joining anyway, mate. I'm not going to try and muck with things right now, but in any case, yeah, that's where we're at. And anyway, you're just looking at my face at the moment, so let's switch this over to. I'm just kidding. I seem to have gotten two microphones on, but in any case, hopefully you can hear me. I'm just going to double check it's the right sources. You know what? I think that's what's. Yeah, I've been muting the wrong source, which is why last week, and I'm just trying to test this back and forth because I know last week we lost a significant chunk of progress because of microphones not working. So in any case, I'll try to keep an eye onto the chat today. Albin, I think, feels better already. In fact, he wanted to come into work today, and I was actually the one that said no, sorry. It may also be because we, at lunchtime on Fridays, also check out whatever's on Disney Plus this week. So yeah, all right. Let's talk about the week. There should be. Hey, Brasveen, Crypto Jones, Anna Keske, Jay Slattery, and of course Zorima, amongst others. It's nice to see some activity on the actual chat this week. So yeah, we're currently looking at the Type S Scout from Traveler. I've made quite a bit of progress this week, although I have been working on other things as well. And I thought I might show that off first because I don't know if he's in the chat yet or if he'll be turning up, but Rax33 on the Discord server has pointed out that there is actually a lot of scale inaccuracies between our miniatures, and this is something I'm well aware of. So I've been trying to rescale these models somewhat to get them to fit the chairs properly. Some of the chairs are a little bit smaller. It's probably hard to see here, and this is a god-awful looking scene. But basically I'm trying to get some things that I'm not happy with addressed. I figured out a way that I could actually color some of the miniatures in the scene and have them render fairly nicely. I don't think anything's in memory, is it? No. We can see if this will run real quick. Let's see. Hopefully it should, because I've got a pretty beefy computer, but let's see. Hopefully there's no lag. Yeah, you can see the links there to the Discord, although I suspect most of you in the chat are actually coming from there, since that's where I've mostly advertised. So the black shaders here, you can, that's just a base shader. I've shaded them black to export them to different scenes, which we'll be looking at soon. But you can kind of see here I've hand painted one of the miniatures, because we haven't actually gotten these up onto the My Manufacturing store because we haven't had them physically printed and painted. So yeah, we're in the process of trying to get these up on the store. And what else have I been doing this week? Oh, I got finally my filament came. and I got some clear plastic, and I've been working on a thinner version of the shuttle. In fact, the shuttle occupied. I've kind of been doing like the Type S in the afternoons this week, and I've been doing some stuff like what you're seeing in the background on in the sort of like mornings. So I've been working on trying to get the miniature scales right. You can kind of see I've imported Gunter from the crew of the Sleipnir into my scout ship, not the Type S scout ship, just to sort of get it basically the scale right. I've actually scaled him down as well because I'm not sure if I imported the 32 millimeter version or whatever, but I want to scale him down and then measure so it's in true 28 millimeter. That is to say, 6 foot tall from the base of the feet to the eye level is 28 millimeters. So I'm trying to get it so that the furniture and the miniatures kind of look right for the sort of circumstance. So I'm just trying to manipulate these just a tiny bit to see if we can get these a bit more uniform than where they have been at, if that makes any sense. Then I got something also to make Zorima happy. I've been working on the shuttle, and of course Zorima has worked very hard on the printable version. I got a very, very hefty bill from Evan Designs with the lights. Basically, the parts for the lights are about $40, which I don't have any issue with whatsoever, just to prototype it. And then the shipping was $75. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit over this. I think Europe and the US really need to get some kind of trade deal happening that also doesn't, allow corporate rape of our local companies. But in any case, I also have made a STL file that is a lot thinner for the shuttle screen in anticipation of trying to print this. I've done a bunch of different tries. I can't get it very clear. I haven't done very much post-processing. Basically, I'm not really happy with it. I didn't think I really would be, but I thought I'd experiment and basically test how thin I could make things. I tried to make it like 0.4 millimeters thick, so that essentially most 0.4 millimeter nozzles should be able to tackle it, and you could get a single layer going. I've tried a couple of different orientations. The standing version was much better than the sort of like horizontal version. But it's the reason they don't a Brexit or a Trump thing. No, it's not. The trade deal sort of through. God, what's it called? I can't really remember it. There was one between like the Pacific nations and the US, and there was the Transatlantic Partnership. So the trade deal in itself is fine, but as usual, when I say the US Congress or Senate, I'm not sure which one's responsible, but of course they can't leave. They can't have a single issue that they pass through Congress. Like, why do they have to keep attaching things to it? And the thing that they tried to attach to it is basically a clause that would allow U.S. companies to sue European companies or European states if they felt like there was no fair trade practices. And under the Trans-Pacific Partnership, like for example, Australia was a member of that. I think it went through, and then like the U.S. Cigarette companies tried to sue the Australian government, which has had a long history of like cigarette packages. You're not allowed to have labels on them. They've got to have warnings with really horrible pictures of like diseased lungs or dead fetuses, that sort of thing, to discourage from smoking. And they tried to sue the Australian government because that, of course, affects their bottom line. So it was kind of like this clause in it, which is why I think it ultimately didn't pass. But at the same time, that kind of threw down sort of open trading between Europe and the US, which I believe is one of the reasons why it's such expensive shipping and also duties and whatnot. I could be wrong. I could be just going off on things. Honestly, it would be better to get something sent from the US to Canada and then to Europe, because we do have a partnership with Canada. Brexit is its own thing, and they've very much shot themselves in the foot with that one. So let's not get into that. In any case, we have a thinner screen. It is currently available on the Discord. We have that channel for custom design, so I put it up there. So if you want, you can print it out and test out. I'd like to see someone try it with clear resin. I don't have a printer that can do that. We just need Canada to invade the US and take over so that the adults are in charge. Well, kind of, or maybe it sounds like you just need veteran affairs for everyone. And then you would have what we have. In any case, at least from my talks with Zorima. Let's see. What I said was not that I got the light kit, but that I got charged for the shipping of the light kit. So it's now on its way. My fancy drink, it's not alcoholic. It's just good old vitamin C. You know, on occasion when I work and I listen to Joe Rogan and he says, yeah, got to get the vitamin C and get your immune system up, right? Yes, I'm a terrible person for actually listening to all kinds of sources of information. Anyway, I am definitely rambling today. So, Zorima, what you will be happy with is, in addition to the screens, I have actually on Monday I took your base sort of lighting kit and then put it over to the detailed interior version of the shuttle, because that was the main piece from the lower levels. I've also been painting my shuttle in my spare time after work, which has been a nice cathartic experience. I did start looking at doing the same with the front piece. These are the prototypes we were working on. I actually have a printed version of this, and we're waiting on the light kits to see that it fits. There's a few things I was thinking of. I think, Zorima, you interpreted these as lights or guns, whereas they're RCS thrusters, so I don't know that putting lights in them is necessarily sensible, now that I thought a bit more about it. And we were talking about lighting the control panel as well, so I'll probably have a look at those, but you know, these are just basically, I'm trying to get to things one or two parts at a time, so it's not overwhelming. And I feel like since Albin's come in, you know, there's a little bit more time to decompress these sorts of things and get back to them, so that I don't know. We'll see how well this campaign goes. I'd like to hang on to him long term if I could. But we can't put the cart before the horse. So that was number 2 thing that we've been doing, and what we're ultimately here for, though, is the Type S Scout, which is what I've been working on for this week. So from the exterior, not too many changes you can see, although there is a slight change, more than a slight change, I would say. We've still got, where have we got double there? There we go. That looks better. So today and this week I've been working on the same sort of block out that I have been, but with a few improvements. So let's see, Mark, if you're actually watching this on YouTube later, this is something that would be nice to get your feedback on. But I have assumed from the designs that the Scout ship, it does have these windows on some versions, but I think there's like a heat shield here that moves up to block the cockpit. So this will not be functional in the final version, just so you know. Is that a car in the back? Oh, you mean the little the grav vehicle? Yeah. We can look at that later. Crypto Jones. The heat shields should move up and basically into place when you're entering the atmosphere, I assume. And then when you're done with that, this will come down. So there we go. That's been built so that that's in place. It's the intention. Hopefully that's a cool feature. We'll probably have a separate piece that you just slot in over the top when you want it to be in place. So yeah, and basically aside from that, let's take the top hull off. I would have thought that came with it. So we can look at the interior. I've actually been doing, I said last week that we had the fuel tanks in position, and this week I've put in the pumps. So this is actually the very first of the semiotic standard from Traveller. I don't know, I know that a lot of you guys that have been following me for a long time know that I absolutely love Ron Cobb and his work on the Nostromo, the interiors in Alien, and he came up with this semiotic standard that I've actually used quite a number of times, especially on doorways. You'll see these symbols at the top, airlock doors, whatnot. Those are from that semiotic standard. But I didn't know this until Mark pointed out, but Traveller actually has its own, and I don't know how much I can show of this, but he has sent some documentations. I hope, Mark, that this is all right. I'm just going to flip this over on the screen. So you can see there's quite a number of different semiotic symbols that indicate different areas and parts of the ship, right? So I essentially wanted to discuss really quickly that not all of these are going to work out very well when translated into 3D or 3D prints in particular. Now, I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this on the camera. I don't know that you will at all. I'm just going to switch this over to a close-up. So this is the most recent print of that part. I believe you guys... So originally, this section was only 3 inches thick. Now it's 4. The reason being that I figured out how to stick the bulkheads in, so it'll actually clip into the next part there, and you'll have a little bit more control over how that interior works out. Sorry. But if we try and zoom in really, really close, you can just barely make out like the detail that we get there. Jeez, I need to clip my nails. It's hard to see in this light because we don't have paint on it, but the geometry has turned out. And this version that I have with me here, it's just a tiny bit smaller than what I wanted it to be. So you can kind of see already in Maya in the background here that the symbol takes up a big chunk, and that's actually a whole 4 millimeters by 4 millimeters, I believe. Down on this base here. So I've actually been doing a series of tests where I've printed out these very, very, very small symbols. Let's see if I can get this in focus. I doubt it very much, but I'm trying to click on OBS here. Let's see if we can get that in focus. Come on. There you go. See this test to just see what kind of detail level we can get from what size. So I wanted you to be able to clearly see the H, and you can only really clearly see it on the top 2, and that's 3 and 4 millimeters respectively, I believe. I'm kind of working from memory, and at the end of my work week. So yes, we do have an updated. Zorima's working on an updated Prusa profile that has kind of refined getting these details out. I discovered a new setting which worked better. Although I think at the moment with the temperatures here, I just need to work on this a bit more with my settings. But in any case, we have all of these beautiful semiotic standard symbols that indicate, different compartments, corridors, the bridge, for example, here, crew. Some of these translate very well, like the H is for fuel. I've noticed that we don't actually have one for oxygen, and we don't have one for access panel. So I will probably take, the oxygen one's easily enough. It's just a 0, right? Or an O, much like the H is the fuel for hydrogen, I assume. And then some of these symbols are going to work well. The more detailed you get, the more dots and things, the harder that is for the printer to translate. So some of these might have to be simplified. Like, for example, this makers one, you could make it a gear, but not with the wave as well. And, for example, the troop version would be harder to see. So it might just be like the crew with a line through it or something like that. There are limits when you're at these scales. You would need to have a very, very very good printer to see them in absolutely stunning detail. But these days I'm also trying to model them so that the thickness is in line with basically what to expect from your 3D printer. So that has helped a little bit. So I'm just gonna make this smaller, and we'll look at these again. So I've added in. You've got some fuel pumps going into each tank. That's what the idea is here. And then I'm just adding a few nurnies at different positions. You'll see that these are not quite the same in each section, and you'll see that this section at the back, it's just got the same mirrored thing, and you can quite easily see this is just a repeated design. Quite boring. I may do a version where, you know, one of these I'm guessing, like, I'm just assuming that some of these are for the pumps, and then you've got some conduits for like alternative. Maybe your wiring goes through here or something, or some of it. In any case, we're still talking about portions of the ship that you could only have access in dry dock, or if you take off the paneling. You know, probably not something you want to do in 0G. And then just here you can see where I've started adding these odd pieces. That is really just gonna like if we go back to drop something. If we go back to the piece I was making before, let's switch the camera back over again. You really can't see. Sorry, you can really see that it's just the same design repeated one after the other, right? So the idea with that is to kind of break it up. And this is exactly how they do it, you know, in sci-fi films. So yeah, well, I mean, it's scooped up from gas giants, but it's made from hydrogen that is consolidated, and yes, there's hydrogen in water. But assumably you need the oxygen as well for, you know, breathing. So I just quickly made this one, like just a tiny little bit before I started the stream. It's not something I'm going to repeat on everything, but you can kind of see how that breaks things up. And that's what I'm trying to achieve here. So even just like adding these ribs here sort of breaks it up. And the idea being that, you know, it feels a lot more detailed. It's not as much work as you'd think, but it just goes a long way. All right, let's see. I'm just going to try and catch up with the text here. I see Rax 333 came through. Let's see. A lot of detail. You should create an entire series of those applications in 3D. Let's see. It's nice to see you guys talking to each other. O2 is made from the V water. What? O2. Yeah. All the gases are scooped up and sorted with hand waving. Yes. I don't quite know where the fuel scoops are supposed to be on most of the models. I'm going to use this section when we're looking at stretch goals and things, what we can do to stick on the fuel scoops there. So I think that's going to be a good section for that. When it comes to the front here, we actually do have a little bit more detail underneath. I did have this open and exposed at a certain point. But as we get to the front of the ship, it makes less sense to add the detail there. And really, I just wanted to make sure that this actually could accommodate the heat shield there. So we don't have the mechanisms to lift it up into place. It's just too small for that. But I like having options. And that's something, you know, that we can revisit in the future. Started working on the recess for the landing gear. And the big thing we're going to be working on today, aside from, well, we're not going to work on the landing gear today. That'll come later. You can kind of see that the rear landing gears, the mechanisms are more refined and designed to fit into the space. The front, however, I do need to redesign. Sorry. That's just from talking. I'm not a big talker. Better. All right. So as you can see, this is the base design. that came from the side view. And as it is, there's just not enough room to sort of tuck up underneath the ship. There's more space I can create, but I basically need to solve this by basically making this leg probably not shorter, but this part longer, and then just kind of making this more like bone shaped, so it's kind of like a cudgel shape, and then this can tuck up underneath a little bit better. We may have to angle that a little bit higher than what it is too, although I don't know how much room we have. There's plenty of room there. Okay, so let's put the lights back on. Let's see. In Star Trek, the buzzard collector was pretty obvious. I don't know what that is. I assume it's some kind of scroop, but let's see. I love this that you guys are talking. What is it? Scientific babble. Probably not. You don't need an energy source to divide your water into O2 and H2, right? But you'd need. I mean, the ship's got a fusion drive, so I believe the fuel. You have fuel for your main engines, and you have fuel for your jump drive. So maybe the fueling is more about refueling your jump drive. I'm not entirely sure. I'd start listening sections and create modular portions for later, as this shape is pretty unmodifiable. Rex333, that's something that a few people have brought up. And this is no offense to Mark, because, I mean, when he was designing the ship, he did not have this in mind. But I know a lot of people may have been hoping that you could, get sections like these and then, continue the shape of the hull, basically make it longer. So here's two sections. Basically, it looks like it would link up, right? But just the way that we connect them, the clip holes are going to be off. It doesn't quite work out. If I had been designing this from scratch to do that, it would have to be at a particular angle that repeats itself over a certain number of inches, right? And we're trying to be we're trying to honor the original design as much as possible. So we're working within the design limitations of this ship, and that's going to be the case with traveler ships overall. They're not going to be as modular as, say, the Cerberus or even the Sleipnir. But the big thing I've been working on, and what we're going to continue to work on over the next half hour, is the cockpit. And as you can see, I've imported in some miniatures for scale. Papsicles has actually already made one of the miniatures that's going to be in here, but I haven't gotten the file for it yet. And then Pickle has come a very long way with the Varga miniatures that he started on as well. So Mark will be happy that there will be Varga space pirates, if not a spaceship at least. So at the moment, you can kind of see where I was this morning as a point of reference. So this half is the unmodified side that I did yesterday, just blocking things out. And then the reason why I brought in the miniatures is because I'm really interested in seeing where the line of sight is on the ship. So if we just go into this forward view here, you can see that even in this seated position, the eyes of the pilot or co-pilot are just barely over the edge here. So you can just see straight forward. So I realized that the controls could actually come up just a little higher. And then this will all be enclosed, and it has... But basically, Mark sent a few references, but I've found a few myself on the web. Let's see. This is, as far as I can tell from the images he's sent, we've got some fan designs. That's not the Scout ship per se, I don't believe, or at least it's not this version of the Scout ship. But we did have this cockpit, but if you ask me, this looks more like it's actually from the bridge of the Beowulf, not the bridge of the Scout ship. but as a sort of reference with the control panels and things, it's kind of like in this more stylized version. So there's a couple images here where we can reference the kind of machinery in that. But this classic traveler artwork, we have a few here. I'm probably going to use as references for helping with door frames and machinery and that sort of thing to give it more this classic look. So this is kind of the source image I'm going off. So I'm just going to move this off to the side because I can still see it on my screen, my other screen rather. And we're going to continue to work on some of this. So there's plenty of stuff that's really interesting that we could build into the ceiling. The only issue is we're never actually going to see it. So I don't know if it will go in or not, but I figured we want to have this central pillar. But if we look at all the deck plans, let's turn on the deck plans. You can kind of see that there's this access panel in between the pilot seats. So these are not necessarily the final seats either. I've just taken them from my scout ship. But yeah, let's see. Science doesn't say no, it says not yet. I really like that, Crypto Jones. That's well said. Scramjet engines have similar engine design as protofuel scoops, as it needs to gather more elements at higher altitudes. Scramjets, right? That's the hypersonic engines, right? That only work at like Mark 5 or something and above. Hazards of actually 3D design. Mark is not the only one happy about Varga Minis. I love the space poppers. Good on you, Mara Curie. Crawl space to access avionics. Yes, that's exactly what that is. And that's what I was saying, that I need some semiotic standard for to indicate crawl space. But if we actually look on the deck plans, usually the deck plans themselves, let's see. This will be hard to see, and I need to make sure I can see what I'm putting up there. We do have on these printouts, let's see, I need to switch to camera close-up again. So we've got the Scout there, and over on the key on this side, we actually have a few icons that we could potentially use. I really am not very good at this. But the access panel ones, where are they? There, access panels, it's just there. So we could probably use something similar where we just have like a panel and wall symbol inside the standard square or something to make up for it. And then could, in combination with that, maybe put, well, technically I assume this access point, maybe earlier in time it was for the avionics, but looking at the map, it's actually probably to access the landing gear. Since there are access ports for the landing gear further back in the ship as well. So there will be a space here, and the reason why there's a gap at present is because the two different maps that I've been using actually have the landing gear shifted an inch in either direction. So yeah, really great chat moving today, guys. Really happy to see that. All right. Really nice day today. It kind of feels like a false spring, but, you know, that happens every year. Let's see. Let's get the... Where's my lighting not coming on? There we go. So, yeah, I just wanted to show you guys behind there, and then what we're going to do is just continue to flesh out this side of the ship using that reference image for some controls. So you'll get kind of... I'm really big into retro wave anyway. Like I listen to a lot of, you know, Outrun sort of music as an inspiration. I really like bridging the gap between, you know, early Traveller and modern Traveller. So having some control panels that sort of evoke a more retro feel, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Basically, if we checking that, sorry, not that graphic. Oh, you guys need to see my screen again. That's useful, right? At least I'm not just like I was last week where it went silent for a while. So yeah, we'll have the access panel here and hopefully a couple of semiotic standard symbols here to indicate what you're accessing. And then, this wall I'll probably put a few control panels into. Oh yeah, by the way, so the bulkhead actually will clip in like so. So you'll slot it into the walls, and then as you clip this section into that section, you'll also clip in the bulkhead. So, and then you've got the wall here, and oh, I've added the mechanics for the sliding doors, so there's a gap in between there, so this will slide from left to right, like so, and continue on down the corridors. I haven't fixed this one yet. The last print I did thicken up those holes, but the plugs got a bit too thick as well, so I tried to widen them even more. Oh, Crypto Jones, you should know that Rax333 is doing everything. Let's see. So yeah, and I've kind of even included these, screens which actually have a tiny bit of curvature, so it's kind of like an old CRT rather than a flat screen. But yeah, let's get a keyboard together. So I'm going to look at the reference image again, but you guys won't see too much of it. And I'm just getting inspiration for the keyboards. It looks like there's like a row of 3 keys, kind of like the one that we already have here. So I'm going to put a spacebar somewhere here in the middle, and here we'll see if we put yet more keys like a keypad, or if maybe we have some kind of like ball mouse or something, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe these are supposed to have like a wheel or a joysticks or something. I don't know. Maybe Mark, you can have a think about that, and we can see. Although they're usually quite delicate details to print. It's possible to get them through, but the chairs I've been trying to think about compromise, because Rax333 has been pointing out that sometimes you just want to stand a miniature in there, and maybe the idea is to print the chairs separate and have them just slot down on top or something. So if you want to just have a flat symbol or surface, the simplified version of things, you can do that. But when we do, I think we'll put out some bases with these miniatures that are smaller than an inch, because we're definitely going to get some intersection going on. And you can kind of see too that from the base version here, I have refined the stairs. They were a bit different yesterday, so it's basically just a step up, and the idea is that the chair would roll back when you want to get out to say there, and then you just sort of like get up and down the stairs, right? And then when you sit into position, it moves forward and adjusts for the pilot, right? So yeah, we need to get some panels in here, and you can kind of see that this is following the one of the versions of the ship where it has this odd shape in it. I've just assumed it's kind of like floor space for the pilot's legs. We'll probably close this up because you just won't see it. And yeah, we'll put a proper panel door on this, or actually make it something that you can slot out. I don't know quite how we're going to show what's under there, because these are quite delicate areas with the window slots. And so maybe that's a compromise, that we can't actually see into that crawl space, or that we can only see it from back here or something. So we'll see. Let's see. We look really good for obese pilots with the adjustable chair. Well, yeah, I guess so. Alright, so we basically want a thicker base spacebar sort of thing. I'll probably eventually color these so that they're a little easier to stick out. But yeah, let's get something going here. So we want 3 rows, and I have a little trick for doing this actually. So I'm gonna delete these, and if we can get very cheeky, when you make a bridge, you can actually decide on the number of divisions. So I can decide that there's 3, and then we get even rows, right? It's a bit ugly when it comes to the geometry, but we fix that later. So that's done. Gotta remember to have a sip of my drink. Vitamin E. Alright. So let's see. I didn't just click on the wrong thing, did I? Nope. We're good. We're good, guys. Alright. So, probably want a spacebar there, and we probably want a second row of keys, because those are a little bit too thick, I think. So, if I was being really clever, I would probably also offset the keys, kind of like on a conventional keyboard. So, let's consider how we can do that. Essentially, we need to divide these up even more. So I'm just going to do that real quick. And then one more over here. Looks slightly off somehow. Oh, that's because, yeah, okay. So let's keep these. Let's leave it as it is, and they can just be smaller. But if we want to offset things, what we would do is just put another line down the middle of each of these. Just for the time being. I'm going to clean all this up later. And there. I want to stop offsetting after that. And then we just grab every other double section here. That spacebar is a little too small otherwise, so let's do that. And then we want to get some extrusion going, but instead of extrusion we're going to offset, and I'm going to try a 0.15 because, you know, that's related to the layer height, and that's basically the amount of room we're going to get between the keys. These ones though are at 0.75, and I think that might actually be alright, so let's go for 0.75. 0.075, sorry. And the reason why, because it'll be 1.5 between when we do these. So I just want to get the spacebar going too. Spacebar should be that big. Alright, so let's make this 0.075. So now the width between, it's a little hard to see with the blue and the shading here, but between this vertex and this vertex, that shape should be 0.15 millimeters, and that's the layer height I usually work with. Width-wise, you know, it can vary, but you know, if you're doing this on SLA instead, and this might be a piece where it'd be worth doing SLA on, you'll get some nice popping detail there. And then the way to cheat here is actually go offset instead for these ones. So we'll do that again, 0.075, and then these. Okay, so now if we select these all of these, sorry. My English is getting too rusty. Alright, actually we can go all the way over to there. And then we're going to do another extrusion. This time I'm going to go up 0.15 for the layer height. And then we're just going to do this one more time. 0.15 and then 0.15 so we get a little chamfer on it. So there's our keys, and you can see now that those are nice and offset. And then we can start grabbing some of these other ones, and let's see, 0.075, there, let's do that, 0.075, I can feel you guys are chatting in the background, but I can't see it, and I'm just going to grab all of these ones at the same time. Press G for redo, 0.075. See here that it's taking this sort of like back to front C shape. If we turn off the keep faces together, it'll do it as individuals instead, and then we keep the geometry there. So let's just select these. And again, we're going to create these buttons by just doing another extrude. So we can go 0.15, repeat the operation, 0.15, and then 0.15 in the offset so that we get the chamfer. So there we go, we've got a nice keyboard happening there. It's a little large for the miniatures, like these keys are way too oversized for in reality, but we just cannot get any more fidelity than this at the moment. Not to mention the fact that you're trying to paint it, right? So you want to have less keys that are easier to paint, is the idea. Let's see. Not the largest, but I have a 4-inch wide, 6-inch long capacity, which works perfectly for my needs. Oh, resin printers, okay. Traveler Scout should have 1 laser, 1 missile launcher as standard service mounted in the 1 hard point. Aren't hard points for below 100-ton ships that don't have turrets? I thought hard points were for like fighters and things, and you get 1 hard point per 30 tons or something, or 33 tons. Maybe that's Mongoose Traveler I'm thinking of, I don't know. Let's see, a triple would be better, 1 laser, 1 missile, 1 sandcaster. Can you really combine things into one turret like that? I thought turrets are 1 to 100 tons, and then a hard point is for fighters, and that's like a fixed weapon. But maybe I'm confusing things. Alright, let's do something on this side too. Oh wait, before we do that, we need to fix, let's delete the history so it's not trying to recalculate everything. And then I'm going to delete these, because they're not actually connected, and then we'll just fill the hole here. And then triangulate these. And that'll just ensure that we don't have any gaps in the geometry, because the gaps are what create non-manifold issues, which means that printing defects essentially. So if we just move this line up and get it to snap to this, wait, that was a snap point, not the actual geometry. So let's move that up. So that now matches these keys. Let's move this to the side. Well, actually, you know what? Let's delete this entirely, because we'll do the same method. We're gonna delete there. We're gonna go the opposite way, and we're gonna make it 3. Well, should we put a mouse sort of pad thing here, or another set of keys? Guys, why don't you let me know in the chat, 1 for keys, 1 for keypad, 2 for mouse ball. There, you can vote in the chat to see what you want. Well, wow, overwhelmingly for a mouse ball. Okay. Oh yeah, we don't have a single one at the moment. Nice. Okay, with what is that? 8 votes? Yeah, 8 votes so far that are all 2. So yeah, we're gonna go for the mouse ball. In which case, I'm gonna do a different tactic here. Let's remove this edge and that edge, these vertexes, and in fact, I'm gonna delete that and just fill the hole so we know that it's square. The reason for this is we can actually edit mesh, circularize. This looks a bit wonky now, it's gone off, but we can actually add divisions and get a built-in circle here. And let's see, I think probably about 8 is fine. That should be 64. Is it, or 32? Let's make it 12. That would be 48 sections around. So this is way too big at the moment. If we just get the middle here and scale it down a little, probably something like this would be good, because we're gonna do another extrusion with an offset, just a small one. That's 0.2. Let's go down 0.2 as well. So we get the recess. And this is where we're going to fit our ball, right? And then I think it's probably actually easy to start with a sphere here. Joystick for 3. I think we're going to stick away from joysticks for the time being. I'm not saying it won't come back, but one other thing I'd like to bring up before I get too far is like usually I'm just mirroring geometry from one side to the other, but this is one of those cases where I'll actually rip out the keyboard and the mouse pad and just do a copy, because you're more than likely going to have a right-handed trackball, at least standard. You'll be able to mirror the mesh if you'd rather have left-handed ones, that's your choice, but by default. And just having that kind of offset geometry, like I may do a version where these nurnies and things that have stuck in the greebles don't actually match on both sides, because most ships, or most things in general, are not simply mirrored. It's all these small offset parts that make it feel like it's large, like it's this real machine, just like the human body. Like I used to do medical visualization quite a few years ago now, and then one of the things that was a bit of a shock, but they've got a general idea about where all the veins and arteries are in the body, but they actually are completely unique to each individual, much like your fingerprints. So where they're found is like a general location you can expect to find them, but so even each ship that's being mass produced is gonna not have all their cables in the exact same position, or some could be more upgraded than others. So I'm just going to drop into top-down mode here, and I'm going to create a sphere. Let's see, polygon primitive sphere, and it'll put it at the 0 point. At the 0 point of the scene. So we have this little sphere. It's actually pretty good size-wise for a trackball already. But now we just need to align it in this scene. So let's see. Where is everything? Oh, it's down the bottom. Okay, that explains it. So let's just get these two objects isolated. Whoops, in here. The grid's a little bit in the way, but you can kind of see. Let's see if we press 5. It's cutting. Oh no. Okay, yes. So it should be in here somewhere. You can kind of see the keys sticking out there. So let's move just the ball down. You can kind of see this section here is actually where it's supposed to fit in. So we're going to try and orient this as close as possible. So something like that. And then we're just going to move this down. We need to change the pivot point so it's based on the object and not the world. And then kind of match it to the base here. So I might actually go in and adjust this. I imagine it could actually be 22.5. No, it was the opposite direction. So let's try 19 degrees to begin with. And it needs slightly more, so let's try 18.5. That's pretty close. Maybe 18.3. No, too far. 18.4. Compromise. That's pretty spot on. So if we look here, it looks just a tiny bit too small. But it's now aligned in place, so we can actually increase the radius to say 1.1. Nah, 1.2 maybe. And that's millimeters, by the way, so double. That'll be 2 millimeters wide, right? And now it just looks a little too large. So maybe not too large, but I want to drop it down a little. So I'm going to go for something more like this. So maybe we will make it a little bit larger as well. Let's go for 1.4. That'll be nice. something sizable that will be easy to paint. Let's see. It's better for reflexes partially, particularly in a 3D space application. Let's see. No lefties left in the future. I mean, they are. You can just mirror it when you print it out. As a lefty representative and a survivor of the War of 2450, cursive will rise again. Let's hear it. Okay, I will send the biological purity police to your location, Rax 323. Oh god, I see you guys are just bantering in the chat. I've got to be on the lookout for things. So let's see. Let's have a look and see what 32 looks like. Well, you know what? This circle should be 48, right? So let's make it 48 subdivisions on the axis. And 48 there. And we're getting pretty close there to the edge. So in theory, we should be able to delete this. We should be able to... Actually, you know what? We should start by deleting the lower rim here. So we want to take this out, delete that, and then we want to combine this and this, and delete here. And then we're just selecting the edges here, and we should be able to do... the bridge did not work. Okay. So they do not match up. Really? They look fairly close. No, one of them's just got a little bit less than the other. So we're too far gone into this. So we're just... The solution here then is to just bridge one of them. And then we fill the hole of the other one. And then we just triangulate this end gone here. So let's triangulate that. And mission accomplished. So there we go. We need to clean these up as well, because these are n-gons that we want to get rid of. It's all about how the slicer interprets the n-gons. So basically, an STL file is made up of triangles, not polygons. So a polygon is like 4 or more sides. A triangle is like this, where it's just 3 coordinates, right? So when you import that into a slicer, depending on your slicer, the slicer being the software you use to make 3D prints, you know, they're going to interpret where to put the triangles differently, because STL files are fully triangulated. So some slicers are going to try and interpret this so that the triangles start here and you'll get some intersection going on. So the idea is to create where you want the triangles to be already in Maya, so you don't get these issues. But aside from that, I also think we could use a little bit more detailing on the edges here. So what I'm actually going to do is kind of create these lines. So we've gone around there, and the way we get rid of the n-gons is just to triangulate these, right? So triangulate, there we go. Now all slicers will interpret this model the same way, and that's what we want. But, you know, we could use a little bit more detail here around the trackball, and even on the trackball probably. So maybe we want to just add some indentations or something. Oh, I need to think about that. I'm not entirely sure what pattern I want yet. Let's focus on adding like some gills to the side or something. Maybe not gills per se, but some... let's just go down here, and we'll go from there to there. So I'm just going to get into matching this. The reason I isolate this is because the miniatures are got a lot of polygons, and they can actually mess up the calculations of trying to think about where your workspace is. So when I'm, for example, trying to match a vertex to this point, if I have that 3D model in here, it might be looking at that mesh that has, you know, like 500,000 polygons, maybe 100,000, say, and it's like trying to calculate, oh, which vertex were you trying to put it on, and it kind of like shits itself. So this is one solution. So I'm just gonna I think we're just going to do a simple offset of, say, yeah, this should be good. Oh, wait, what was it? I missed that. Offset 0.2, and then we'll just go down 0.1 maybe. Nah, 0.2. There we go. So we just create this recess, right? So this is, you know, just going to break up the geometry a little. And we'll try to do the same thing on the other side. I don't think we're going to stick with this shape as it is. We're probably going to join these together. And in the corner here, I was thinking of putting some like speakers here. Because it makes sense that you might want a microphone or something fairly close. So I assume you probably have a headset or a communicator, right? But you need redundancy in your systems, especially if this is a scout ship, so, you know, military basically. So you definitely want redundancies. All right, let's see. We're at 4 o'clock now at my time, so we'll get this done and then we'll wrap up the session. Let's see. And what were we? We were at offset 0.2. And then we want to repeat the process again and go down 0.2. There we go. So, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. We can maybe do some refinement in between now and the next time we look at things. And I'll probably add like some, like maybe just some little tags on the side or something so that you can kind of tell where the top is. Just kind of the same way how like the F key has this little notch on it so that you can find the F key blind. A lot of people are, and the J key, a lot of people are amazed. I can blind type, and people are confused about, oh, how do you do that? But really, it's just, you know, mapping it based on where the F and the J key are. All right, let's have a look at the whole picture once again. So there we go. We've got a bridge taking shape, and if we just set this aside for now, I actually have this whole section over here of discarded parts that I'm building up at the moment. And then we just move the pivot point on that back to the center line, and we're just going to mirror it for now. I'll need to do something about the keyboard in the future, but there we go. Oh, the seat. Oh, it's just not in the same position. Alright, so yeah, we move it out. There we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this session and happy with the progress. I am getting very, very excited about working on this ship right now. This is something that happens the closer I get to, you know, having something printable. Next week, I don't know what we'll be doing in particular. Maybe Rax 33 will be tackling that ramp at the back and some of the airlock space. As far as solutions go, we also need to, you know, to get in some details into the rooms. Yeah, basically, that's where things are at. Hopefully, Mark's also pleased with the progress so far. And hopefully we'll have Alvin back next week with some more Beowulf updates. And this time we'll be sure to include the microphone or ensure that it's working correctly. I may even try and figure out how we can share his screen like on Discord or something like that. So in any case, guys, thanks for joining me again. We'll be back next week at the same time with another update. And yeah, everyone have a great week. All right. You can see the links there in the stream chat to our Discord, to my Media Factory page, to seconddynasty.com, where basically our website where you can get to things, and then of course a link to Zorma's Discord channel where you can get a ton of help with your 3D printing. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the updates. I'll see you guys next week, and I'm going to end it here. Thanks, guys.